Hello everybody, Thrash Till Death here. I was just on Anime News Network recently, and one thing that caught my attention was the HD trailer just gone up yesterday for the new feature film being directed by Makoto Shinkai called Children Who Chase Lost Voices from Deep Below. His film's titles are usually a mouthful. I've been a fan of Makoto Shinkai's works for quite a long time now. I've written a couple of reviews for his films Voices of a Distant Star and Place Promised in Our Early Days back on liveactionanime.org. I still have to see his most recent work, 5 centimeters per second. Not for any apathy on my part, mind you, but simply because it still isn't out on DVD here yet. So thanks a lot, Manga Entertainment UK, for making us wait 4 years for a relatively simple film that should be easy to dub. But anyway, yeah, it seems that his fourth feature is finally on its way, due for release May next year. The details and the premise are sketchy at the moment. I think the protagonist's name is a young girl called Asuna, and she's supposed to be on a journey to find a boy she's lost or something like that. Most of Shinkai's films feature this idea of trying to reclaim something one's lost and the way of dealing with that loss. Just the sort of general overriding theme that goes through all of his works, which usually tend to bridge the sort of gap between science fiction adventure sort of stories and more down-to-earth slice of life sort of films. This new film, the trailer is only about 40 seconds long, but from what we've seen of it so far, it looks like it's going for a more full-fledged adventure sort of fantasy story after the more pretty much straightforward, down-to-earth slice-of-life story that was 5 centimeters per second. It looks like it's taking a lot of cues from Studio Ghibli in the sort of artistry style, in the sort of focus on a strong young female protagonist. One thing that struck me was the score is now like a full-bodied orchestral soundtrack rather than the sort of soft piano melodies that usually accompany his films. So it almost seemed evocative to me of the Final Fantasy games a little bit. So it seems that sort of adventure, epic journey sort of thing is what he's shooting for. It's also supposed to be his longest feature so far, so maybe somewhere in the region of 2 hours. So it could be a fairly expansive production, more expansive than anything he's done so far. Anyway, as is usually sort of the case with Makoto Shinkai's films, the main draw is the artistry, which is just gorgeous beyond all reason. One consistent criticism that gets leveled against Japanese animation when compared to Western animation is that it's much slower, movements much more stilted, which is entirely true. If you play back any anime film, with the possible exception of the absolute highest end productions in the industry, stuff like Akira or maybe Princess Mononoke, almost all anime runs at only 12 frames per second as opposed to the full 24. And so yes, the characters do move in fairly stilted, jittery motions when compared to Western animation of the quality of stuff like Disney. Now, there's no arguing against this, of course, but I say this doesn't represent a full argument of the full picture. See, the thing with Western animation is that while the movements are much more fluid and expressive, a lot of the time that compromises the attention to detail, the background artistry, and that's where Japanese visual storytelling tends to shine. Of course, I'm not saying that either style is necessarily superior to the other one. Both styles of animation have a different lineage, whereas Japanese animation comes from comics and manga. Western animation evolved alongside the rise of the film industry, so they both come from very different places and different styles of visual storytelling. But possibly the greatest modern vindication of Japanese visual storytelling is the work of Makoto Shinkai in his 3 films so far. This man has an attention to detail in his backgrounds that borders on pornographic. You could ignore the story completely in something like Place Promised in Our Early Days and just focus on it as this 90-minute montage of stupendously beautiful background artwork. And every film he's made so far seems to find a new way to top himself in just how gorgeous and detailed he can make his backgrounds. And this is no exception. Once again, there's a very great attention to detail with sky and clouds and big rolling plains, cityscapes. Everything is there. It's just absolutely a joy to look at. And so I'll be watching this film for no other reason, even if the story turns out to be shit, which I'm sure it won't. Um, it'll still be a spectacle to behold, if nothing else. So there's also one scene in the trailer that took me aback. Blink and you'll miss it. But there's a scene about halfway through where you see the young girl Asuna getting attacked by demons of some sort, and there's a guy with a sword and a cape who's slicing one of them in half, and there's bloods flying everywhere. It's like sort of the Stranger sort of style thing, and that sort of took me aback. It's the first time I've ever seen something that sort of graphic in one of Shinkai's films, who are generally targeted towards a younger audience. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Maybe it's not that they're targeted towards a younger audience, they're more supposed to evoke the innocence and nostalgia of youth. If you want to put all your eggs in that basket. But all the same, that sort of depiction of violence in his films is something new for him. So I'm a little bit nervous to see how that plays out, but all the same, this looks like an absolutely fantastic spectacle, feast for the eyes, and probably a great story to go along with it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one, Children Who Chase Lost Voices from Deep Below. Hard one to remember at any given time, but yeah, it's been a while since I've seen another anime film that piqued my interest this much. Although another one that's just recently come to light on ANN is the film Marduk Scramble, which is supposed to be another sort of gritty cyberpunk, the first entry in a trilogy, in fact, of a sort of cyberpunk world that evokes Ghost in the Shell. And it's supposed to follow the misadventures of a woman who gets killed in an explosion, gets resurrected as a cyborg, and goes out for revenge. It sounds right up my alley, and it's coming out fairly soon, I think, so yeah, I'll be looking forward to that one as well. So, all is bright on the anime film horizon, it seems. But yeah, Children Who Chase the Lost Voices from Deep Below looks absolutely superb. I can't wait to see that one. So, thanks everybody. Thanks for your time. I'm Thrash Till Death, and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.